Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. I'm joined now by Michael Huber.
Yo!
After an intense Doom play session.
Yo, check that archive. Check that archive, viewers. Doom Eternal, Ancient Gods. First level was like 90 minutes of just pure insanity. So intense.
I saw a shark. I saw you had to respect the shark. See the shark kill.
Well, because I know if I'm a viewer, if I'm chat, I want to see what the shark does. I want to see the shark kill the player. So I just sacrifice myself for the good of chat.
For the good of chat. What we will be talking about is Nintendo doing it for the good of the consumers. We're going to start off here with a topic. It's something that has been documented for the last few years, I think, with Nintendo. It dates back to the Wii U, when online updates became commonplace with the Nintendo. The Wii U, 3DS, and leading into Switch. And of course, it came to a head again with the recent release of Mario Golf Super Rush. And that is Nintendo getting in the habit of releasing a decent amount of their software as content incomplete. And Huber, I know we played a little bit of Mario Golf, but when I was doing the research of the games that were being accused of, consumers saying, Nintendo, you released this content incomplete. Some people cite ARMS as one of the first examples where it's just lacking. I'm talking about lacking in content here. Yeah. The game fundamentally might be sound mechanically, but there's just not a lot to do in there. And people cite ARMS as one of the first ones that did this and tried to buffer it with free updates or updates later. Mm-hmm. And I know you played that one and how you felt about it.
Totally, yeah. I'm pretty sure I reviewed ARMS, weirdly. One of the rare Nintendo Huber reviews.
Yeah.
And I remember it feeling a little bare bones. I think I reviewed Mario Tennis back in the day as well. That one felt bare bones. Yeah, and then now with Mario Golf, obviously. Go ahead.
I was gonna say another big one, Huber. I want to ask you about this one is Super Mario Party. That comes up. Super Mario Party is another one that
I knew I was forgetting one.
Yeah, Super Mario Party is a big one. Full price game with people say it had it just came with barely any content compared to its predecessors and lackluster online. Only mini game stuff at the gate. And it took 2.5 years for that update. How does that? Yeah,
that's absurd because for that one specifically is unacceptable because they promised post-launch support. I remember they vocally said, "Hey, we're gonna continue to update this in the coming months or whatever, after release," and it just never happened. I mean, 2.5 years later, it's what is even the point? At this point, it seems unnecessary.
And now we know why it's even getting this update is because they announced the new Mario Party that's getting all the stuff. The online function. Also getting, remember, we tried to play it. We forgot. Joy-Cons only, but the new one's going to forego that stuff. They're like, we understand. So, it's been going on. Another one, Kirby Star Allies. I'm not really into Kirby, but I remember even Blood mentioning stuff about it, that it just had a general lack of content at launch, and Kirby games apparently just known for having so many modes, such meaty campaigns that feel satisfying. And Nintendo might have been doing this stuff, Huber, I feel for a while, but even in some of their earlier games like Splatoon, Super Mario Maker, but to me, the first few games they were trying these updates with, and even to this day, games they do it with, like even Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, they're doing these season passes. You got to pay for them; they're not even free. But the base game feels very content complete. But Mario Golf, it seemed like it had all the right things going for it, and man, this 180 at launch is so shocking to someone like me.
Complete 180.
They got Camelot? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Damiani, we played for 2 hours, and, we didn't see everything, but boy, did it feel like we saw everything. In just 2 hours, one little session. I know there's an entire campaign mode that we didn't do, and I'm just going with the word of mouth. You know, I haven't played it myself, so I don't have my own opinions on it. But from what I've heard, it's brief.
Yeah.
You know, you can go through this in like 2 sittings probably, and it's just okay. I haven't heard anyone raving about, you know, the Mario Golf campaign that is a must play. You know, I have not heard that. But even the Battle Rush mode, you know, that was just so hyped up, it just felt kind of empty. I was expecting more. I don't know what I was expecting, but there's just not a lot of shenanigans, and something just feels missing, Damiani. I can't quite put my finger on it, but weirdly, the other battle mode that we ended on, that was like, first one to score three holes, that whole mode feels tacked on, but at the end of the day, like, that was some of the most fun the group was having with that mode. So it feels maybe like if they did a hybrid of the 2 battle modes, like you have that one where it's like, first one to sink them in the holes, but then also you're like running in, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt, it felt like we pretty much got what we needed out of it, or like what we were going to get out of it. Like, I have no desire to really go back to Mario Golf.
That's not, that's not a good sign.
Whereas something with Smash and Mario Party, like you knock on my door and you ask me to play, and I say, yep. Like, anytime, down. But Mario Golf, like, I'm good.
That's a good point. Because, well, one, about, like, we were enjoying it, you all were enjoying it playing multiplayer, but that was local multiplayer, which, you know,
which is going to be the best.
But I mean, there's still a good amount of people out there who are reviewing it, who are saying the online, once again, it's not up to snuff, that it's, you know, Nintendo typical online, so you can't count on that. But the free update path, this is one of the games that promised New Donk City course, not there at launch. Do you think people just tune out by the time those updates are coming for some of these games? That, like, that's even a month is too long, man. These should be day one, or like, we gotta have these out every week. Considering, you know, like, games like, you know, you're just playing it today, like Fortnite, where obviously they have a bigger team and decade, but like, if you want to keep people interested in your game, you either gotta go game as a service, or, you know, that type of route. And Nintendo really doesn't do that with anything, except maybe like even Smash Brothers. But I think Smash Brothers is a special beast with its updates. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you think this, like, approach really works for anyone, even if it's not Nintendo? Does it work for anyone, really?
I don't think it works for Nintendo. They're not good at this. They're not good at free post-launch updates. They have yet to change my mind on that. I will say they should just stick to paid DLC and story stuff. Like, again, Smash, paid DLC characters. We want that. We will show up and pay for that. Hyrule, or Breath of the Wild, you know? That whole lights, the motorcycle and all that DLC. Like, that's meaningful. That's stuff we're going to show up for. For Mario Golf, I think holding back a course, or even like developing it now after the fact, I don't think one course would have made a difference at launch. To me, this is just a way for them to drum up more interest as, you know, as a month goes by. It's like a calculated marketing ploy, where in a month from now, when everyone's forgotten about Mario Golf, they can be like, yo, here's some nostalgia. We're Nintendo. New Donk City. Oh, New Donk City. That looks cool. Like, let's all hop in and play it. And it's like, yo, it's just a course. It's not going to fundamentally change or add to this game, really. It's not enough. It's just a drop in the bucket.
I mean, yeah. There's some, like, it looks cool, but, like, one course being enough. And there's so many cool ideas they could have done. It's just a little bit of a bummer.
Oh, good. Real quickly, like, obviously with the pandemic and everything, development is in hell right now.
Yeah. Fair point.
But I'm all about roadmaps, you know? If I'm a Mario Golf player and I want to feel, like, secure in my investment, a nice little roadmap of the coming months, even if it's just like, yo, this year, you don't have to be specific, but even if it's like, yo, this year, adding a course, adding maybe characters or modes, knowing that as a player, as a consumer, knowing what's on the horizon, makes it a little easier for me to want to invest and to stick around knowing what's going to come. But this sporadic, just kind of up in the air, like, oh, we have one course coming, like, that's not going to be enough for me to want to invest and to stick around.
You're right. I think they're just too ambiguous. You know, they have to have a more concise message if they want this to even have a hope of working.
Yeah.
I have some Patreon questions about specifics, how we feel about these approaches with Nintendo. First one comes from Michael Phone. Hey, allies. Despite complaints of Mario Golf being unfinished, Mario Golf Super Rush has more holes than any previous Mario Golf other than the 3DS game. I've not fact-checked that. I'm going to let you in the comments do the fact-checking. Have fun with that. My question, though, is this. Do you think the games are unfinished, like Mario Golf Super Rush? Or does knowing more content is coming give off a placebo effect of a game being unfinished? So does the knowledge that they're doing free updates amplify that kind of like that feeling of like, man, this game is lacking in content? You know, how do you feel about that?
It's a tricky question. We have no way of knowing, but it's like, the thing with Nintendo games is they're usually like really good. You know, they make good video games. Like Mario Golf, this is not a bad video game. This is fundamentally sound. It might be a little like basic for some players and a little bare bones, but it's just this balance of like, you know, are we going the Ubisoft content over quality, or are we going quality over content? And like finding that middle ground is key, and I don't think Nintendo's quite found it. I think something like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, these big efforts, have the quality and the quantity. But like even something like Pokemon, dude, just feels safe. You know, the word of mouth, everyone was like, yo, this is just such a safe game. They're not taking risks. Like the best thing to me about Mario and Zelda at the end of the day is innovation and nostalgia and quality and a good amount of content. You know, it's just hitting all those boxes. And for a lot of these Nintendo releases, Damiani, just speaking for myself, they just feel safe. They feel like they're riding the coattails of the legacy, and they're gonna sell. They're gonna sell regardless. Like,
that's a good point.
At the end of the day, until the sales stop, why change? Why add more? Why spend more?
Absolutely.
If you're going to sell the same amount. It's like my dad always says, like, yo, Disneyland tickets, until people stop going, they're going to keep raising the prices. Period. Like, it is what it is. It's basic consumerism. And Nintendo just takes advantage of that, I feel like. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, you know? Whether there's some maliciousness, I don't know. You know? That can be your whole view if you want that. I just feel like they aren't pushed, and the whole they're playing their own game, like we always talk about. Sony PC and Microsoft over here, Nintendo just selling games over here.
It's funny because you mentioned, you know, games like Breath of the Wild or even, you know, a Pokemon. Yeah. And even like Pokemon playing it safe, but like a Breath of the Wild, it's so hard to look at Breath of the Wild, see that it was like a full price game, and then look at something like Mario Golf Super Rush and like, why are you paying the same I think that's what it comes down to.
I feel like that's great, man.
I feel like if like something like like Mario Tennis Aces, if Mario Golf Super Rush were like $39.99, there'd be a little less blowback. There still would be people who'd be upset about the lack of content, but
totally less blowback, dude.
I don't always like to get into like price stuff, but like value proposition here, I think definitely comes into play.
I think so too. I don't like to get into prices too. We live in a Game Pass free to play era now, but comparing it to their own first party releases, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just, and that is further with my previous point, just riding the name. Riding the Mario name, riding the Nintendo name. Mario and Nintendo equal $60 regardless. That's how they see it.
Yeah. Their pricing thing, we've gotten into it before. Nintendo has a very unique pricing scheme that they use, and I'm sure a lot of people would wish they'd be a little bit more flexible and reasonable, but I mean, it's what they do and stuff. They make these decisions because they believe it is in their best interest.
Real quick, Damiani, I'd like to bring up a game that I missed the first time around, in its entirety, because I was playing Resident Evil 3 Remake, and that's Animal Crossing.
Oh, yeah.
This, from the outside looking in, seems like it had a lot of content and a lot of post-launch support. Mm-hmm. I know some of the allies like it more than others. I, unfortunately, haven't played it. But what do you think about the support on that one? Because that seemed like a good example of...
Put it. Yeah, when I think my playtime on it, I haven't touched it forever. I dropped it pretty early compared to some of the other allies, but I think it was like 65 hours is what I put into it, which is still a lot. And
good value.
At least a majority of that, at least 40 of those hours was just getting to the credits. And that's like any game that takes 40 hours is pretty content rich, if you want to call it that way.
Totally.
And they did have
I saw they had those events and stuff.
Yeah. They might not have been the best events, but they did have a roadmap. They're doing updates. I think the criticism now is that it's kind of like died off. It's like been radio silence, even though they recently got someone pulled Doug Bowser aside and they're like, yeah, we still got updates planned for it. It's just, this is Nintendo. Like with their communication, it took someone grabbing Doug Bowser to come up on an aside interview to be like, oh yeah, they're still gonna update it. No specifics whatsoever, but you can count on us. And it's like, that game is like gonna be your best-selling game of all time. Where same thing as mind-boggling as you said with Super Mario Party, best-selling Mario Party. Like, what are you doing, guys? What you should. You want it to, I don't know. I think, as you said, they keep selling, though. That's the thing. And they're like, do we really need to push this hard if it keeps selling?
It's the classic, the GTA, or finish really quick. What were you going to say?
No, that was pretty much it, the point.
The whole GTA news that GTA 6 is going to be in 2025, and then people were comparing it to Mario Kart. And it's like, yo, if Mario Kart 8 keeps selling, why make 9? If people are playing and spending money in GTA Online, why spend hundreds of millions of dollars and risk your credibility, if it's a good or bad game, when people are spending money in online? It's just the way it is.
Exactly. I think the real truth of that is Rockstar and probably Nintendo. I mean, definitely Nintendo because it's their own system, but Rockstar probably gets privileged information from console manufacturers and also the PC platforms, the storefronts, about their how much you're driving, especially the console manufacturers, how much you're driving sales. It's like we're seeing this drive console sales. I think once it falls below a threshold, they might, some companies might put pressure on them. Hey, we could use a new, even just the PS5 release didn't do enough for GTA 5. Can you make a GTA 6 or something, or make an online 2.0. I don't know if that's really what it takes, but I feel like a combination of they're raking in so much money, it's going to take a lot of pressure from a lot of places, I think, to say, hey, it's now time. Because why, as you said, you made why burns through so much money, so many man hours to make a new game when it might sell worse. It might stop the momentum of the previous game. There's so much risk. It's that's why so many people are saying some of these games should just become platforms. Like Grand Theft Auto should just. That's some of the rumors that 6 is just going to announce it's not 6. It's a platform. It's going to be called Grand Theft Auto, and that's it. We're just going to keep updating this one version of the game forever. People are said that they should just do that for Super Mario Party. In fact, they should just do it for Mario Kart, and people have even suggested it for Smash Brothers, which they're not doing. But there are certain game franchises I think that could just move up to the platform phase and just say, here is the core version. It will be patched and updated to the end of time, pretty much.
Yeah. New era, dude. 2021 gaming, Damiani. Wild.
So this next question from Kristen, we kind of covered a little bit about this, but I think they want us to get a little bit more in detail. So while the Mario Golf situation isn't as bad as something like Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky, it's still something nobody should do. Companies need to learn that first impressions are everything, and releasing an unfinished product, or a product lacking content for that matter, is not the right way to go. No Man's Sky did eventually bounce back, and I guess the tiny positive takeaway from the Mario Golf situation is that they confirmed future updates will be free. However, the damage However, the damage is already done for these two titles. Do you believe some game companies need to stop playing the redemption content card post-launch and instead have enough of a hearty amount of content for the initial release? Of course, releasing legit DLC down the road counts. Yeah. Love and respect.
Yeah, absolutely. This trend needs to stop, and I think people are against it. You know, there's just a couple outliers. No Man's Sky, like, kind of started this whole thing. That's its own weird case. And of course, Cyberpunk was one of the most hyped video games of all time, coming off one of the greatest video games of all time, The Witcher 3. So they get... That's its whole other issue. Yeah, like... just unacceptable, you know. Just make sure your game works and make sure, like, the value is there. And also, the empty promises. Weaponizing, Damiani. Weaponizing free DLC. Because you can, yeah, because you can be like, hey everyone, come on into Mario Golf. Everything, you know, $60 at the door. Everything else down the line is going to be free. Oh yeah, okay, you know, I'm in, and then oh man, there's gonna be courses, modes. A year goes by, you get a course and a character, maybe, you know, like. Leaning into that, leaning into that pre-release and even at launch of being like, oh, the DLC is going to be free. Be specific.
I thought you meant weaponizing fans who rush to defend this type of practice because they do say, look, instead of having to pay for all these DLC updates, it's all free. So that $60, it's really covering all this stuff. So, but at the same point, is that acceptable? Because that means that stuff... In that argument, that means it should have been that's part of the $6 for the game you paid. Like, why would you, like, accept them taking that much longer after launch? Like, shouldn't that all be at launch then, if you're going to use that argument, that logic? Like, that's why it's paid DLC down the line, because the game you paid for should be complete. Yeah, this is stuff arguably wasn't going to be in the original game to begin with. We just want to support the game more.
Totally.
I saw someone make a food metaphor about this practice. It's like... buying a pizza. Sorry, I forgot their name. Buying a pizza, and then when you get there, like, you sit down to eat, and they only give you like a third of the pizza, and say, "Come back in 2 weeks. We'll give you another third. Come back in 2 more weeks. We'll give you the rest of it." I mean, it's like a little not 1-to-1, but like that's the thing we talked about earlier. That, like, are people really going to come back if they don't enjoy the core experience? I don't think I don't think the strategy necessarily is going to, like, pay off for a lot of for a lot of these titles. Honestly,
I don't know if I'm trying to make a point, Damiani, but I bring up 2 other games that were kind of in a similar situation. I think of Outriders.
Okay.
Kind of the inverse. Outriders launched with a ton of content, and they never said their game was a game as a service, but everyone just, you know, was like obsessed with that and assumed. And then when, like, post-launch stuff just didn't really happen, everyone was like, what the hell, and kind of, like, bailed out. So it, like, launched complete, I feel like, but then Avengers had a pretty cool campaign. You know, like, even before I dove into the multiplayer, like, finishing that campaign, I was like, okay, I'm feeling fulfilled here, Damiani. I'm feeling fulfilled. The credits rolled, and I was like, yo, I just beat a cool video game. Like, you know? And then, of course, there's the online and that whole other side of it. But it's like, what is enough? What amount of content? I feel like there's no magic formula here. It's like just this gut feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like, I don't envy game development. It seems like it would be hard to be like...
Seems like, yeah. And like people saying they should be flexible. They should jump on Outriders. They should have recognized what they had and jumped on it. It's like,
yeah.
Is that really that easy to flip that switch? It's like, it's a certain development team. Like, you can't, how does that, like, I think logistically that's not as simple as people make it out to be.
Yeah.
Also, you bring up Avengers, man. It's like, I also hope some of these developers realize it's not the fact that it was only a game as a service that, like, oh, we didn't like it because it was a game as a service. So that's why we're making Guardians a single player game, and it's like, it'd have none of this other stuff. It's just going to be single player focused. It's like, that's not necessarily what was the root of the problem. Like, if Guardians is not fun to play, it doesn't matter if you made it single player or a game as a service. Like, it has to be a good game at its core. So exactly. I hope these companies don't get so wrapped up in that debate about game as a service, single player, that they forget to actually start by making a good game first. Like, you got to start with that before you worry about this other stuff.
And at least with Avengers, like, production values, that's a big budget game. You're smelling it, you're feeling it, Whereas Mario Golf, like, content-wise, bare bones, but also just like, you're not even pushing technology at all. Your game looks pretty dated. Like, obviously it looks like Mario, which is cool, but it's like, at least if you're gonna give me a small, unfinished game, I use that term loosely, at least like push the boundaries somewhere else.
Yeah. Let me ask you this last question from Level Capybara. About, is this intentional or not to keep people talking about the game longer? Could shipping incomplete games at launch be a strategy for companies like Nintendo rather than an oversight? In a crowded and accelerating games market, even AAA titles like Mario Golf, I don't know if I consider Mario Golf a AAA title, need to fight to keep players engaged and maintain relevance. From Nintendo's perspective, it might almost seem prudent to not ship a game with all of its features intact at the outset, so that players have a reason to keep talking about the game months or even years after its release. For the record, I feel like this kind of strategy would be a bug, not a feature, but do you think it might legitimately be a consideration for Nintendo or other AAA players?
Absolutely. The short time gap between that first course, for sure. God, I cannot think of an example, but this just happened where it was like, couple weeks after launch, like, here's some DLC, a new map or something, and it's just like, yes, I'm sure maybe they're putting the finishing touches on it, but it definitely always feels like they have something quick to release shortly after launch to drum up interest again. You know what a big moment will be, Damiani, is if this Switch Pro is real, and looking at smart delivery and these PS5 upgrades, Damiani, okay? Where is Nintendo gonna land on that? Because that's gonna be more ammo in the tank for or against their business practices. If you can just pop in your cartridge or download it and it's smart delivery style, okay, Switch Pro takes advantage. Or if they're gonna charge you. Are they going to charge you to upgrade your game, Breath of the Wild 1, Breath of the Wild Switch Pro enhancements.
Fans right now are actually, like, it's assuming that these older games are going to get free patches to run better. Yeah. But you're right. They might charge, like, here's $10 surplus. Like, here's the upgrade pass, whatever they're going to call it. Like, if you're a Breath of the Wild owner on Switch or Switch Lite, and you'd like to play with, you'd like to take advantage of the Switch Pro. You can bring the game on a Switch Pro, but like it's just gonna run at base level. But if you want the enhancement patch to be applied, it's like $4.99 or something, or $9.99. Like, which
could see it.
I think that would generate a lot of that will get a lot of backlash. Whether or not Nintendo can weather it, we'll see.
Something even more insane, Damiani. Like, they just have a Switch Pro version of Breath of the Wild for $60, and then if you own Breath of the Wild, you get like a discount. You get it for $30 or $20, like an upgrade.
Don't think they're gonna do that. I do think if there are any patches to older games, Nintendo actually will make them free. I just don't expect a lot of games, older games, to get this. I think a very select few games will get a Switch Pro patch, if anything, and then they will just be focused on the future releases being optimized. Nothing, they're not going to make the entire back catalog. I mean, that'd be fantastic, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Because it just leads me into a bigger point, Damiani, of like, when do we stop giving Nintendo the benefit of the doubt all the time, And it's like, we have, I feel like, in the last couple years, obviously, like, we need that Switch Pro, what's up? But it's just, the crummy online, like, no achievements, the back catalog being restrictive, and like Virtual Console, and like having to rebuy things all the time. It's like, these things just keep adding up and form an opinion in our minds of like what is acceptable and what is unacceptable from this company. And it's just like the straw that, broke the camel's back. And it's like, Mario Golf, it should be more. This is a Mario game. This is Nintendo. Like, we should expect more from them. So,
Nintendo might have set themselves up for a lot more of this criticism going into the rest of the year, just because they don't have that big title coming out this year. We're going to be getting WarioWare. We're going to be getting the other Super Mario Party. Those are two games ripe for being criticized for these same very things, potentially. It'll be very interesting to see, because a lot of their heavy hitters are now next year, if that. So Mario Golf might just be the start of a string of releases that might happen when people are just like, yo, what's going on, Nintendo? Like there's too many in a row. Usually they've been able to mask it by, here's one that's kind of like that, but then here's a big hit everyone loves, so we distracted you. And this might be it. This might be the string of releases going into the Q3, Q4 end of the year. People finally say, I don't know, I've been so blind to this for so long. But you know what? We will be back in a little bit to talk about the. You mentioned something about Virtual Console and being able to replay classics. When we're gonna take a break here, and when we return, we're gonna have a special guest joining me to talk about the recent release of Kazuya from Tekken in Smash Brothers. But after that segment, Huber will be back with us, and we'll be talking about a little bit of Metroid and a problem with the Metroid series in terms of, if you want to play it, what's going on, Nintendo? Why can't you play it on your Switch? So we'll be back in a little bit. All right, we're back now with special guest Jakejames Lugo. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me here. Hopefully you're doing all right. Hopefully everybody else is doing all right, too.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you on, man. And I'm really excited to have you on because we're going to be talking about the recent edition of Kazuya from Tekken. Is it Tekken 7 specifically that he's from? So here's the thing.
No.
I am not a Tekken fan. I'm not well versed. I know some things about Tekken, but I was like, I need someone who knows about Tekken. And
I got you.
You've got a background here. I was like, dang. Yes. I was like, all right.
Oh, I don't know if you could see it. There's my Tekken 7 little statue. I don't know if you could see it there. I know people that got the collector's edition will recognize it. It's Heihachi and Kazuya fighting, basically.
Oh, sick.
It's a big statue. I wish I could pull it like up in front, but it's basically like Kazuya jumping at Heihachi. So yeah.
You actually, so you've been a Tekken fan for a while. You've actually done some, actual work with Tekken stuff. You were telling me, I don't know if you like.
Yeah, basically some of the stuff that I've done, one, I was part of the review cycle for Tekken 7. I actually got to go to Bandai Namco's office in California and actually go play Tekken 7 on an arcade cabinet with Harada, which was like a whole another thing. For anybody that loves Tekken, that's like epic win. But I also did some guides work with IGN for the IGN wikis about Tekken 7, and I've done a whole bunch of other like review stuff related to Tekken in general, dealing with the DLC and stuff. But I've been a Tekken fan for most of my gaming career. I like ever since technically not since the first Tekken game, but Tekken 2 and 3 on PlayStation, and just going from there. Like with me, I'm such a big fan that I associate the PlayStation just with the smell of pizza, like brick oven pizza, because I used to go to my boy's place in New York. He used to live on top of a brick oven pizzeria, and we used to play Tekken 2 and 3 all the time.
Oh man. So I remember seeing it in arcades. And just it being this 3D fighter, I always used to confuse it with Virtua Fighter, like Tekken Virtua Fighter. I'd see it from afar, and I just wasn't into that scene. But I remember friends having PlayStation and playing Tekken 2 and 3 on there, and like seeing like, oh, this dude's got like a lion head, and there's like a panda or something. I was like, this is kind of cool actually. I was like, this is fun to play, but never really did a deep dive into it because I was always more Street Fighter, OG Street Fighter, and then Killer Instinct.
2D fighters.
Yeah,
you were mostly
like
2D
fighters. And even then, I wasn't that hardcore into that stuff. But let me ask you this. I feel like each special fighter that's announced as part of these fighter passes, there's always people who are upset and people are super excited. And I'm kind of curious. Obviously, it seems like you're pretty excited about them adding. Were you excited they added Kazuya first and foremost? And do you think it was an important addition to have representation from Tekken in Smash Brothers?
That's kind of complicated, and it's multi-tiered to answer that, because number one, I did not expect Kazuya to be added into the game for a couple reasons. Specifically, I thought that they were going to add a Tales of character because it's Bandai Namco, and it made sense to include Lord Irvine as part of the roster because it's Bandai Namco, but it's also another game that has a legacy with Nintendo, being on the GameCube and also on the Wii and obviously all that other stuff. But on top of that too, if it was going to be a Tekken character, I would have never expected Kazuya because everybody thought like PlayStation All-Stars we would get Heihachi or we would get somebody else, which would have made sense because you know how goofy Nintendo could be at times.
Yeah.
So there's all these other characters they could have pulled from. They could have put Panda and Kuma in there if they really wanted to, which is just a bear and a panda, and that would have just worked and everybody would have gotten it. But the reason why they added Kazuya and what makes a lot of sense is because Kazuya is the main character of the Tekken franchise, especially in the first 3 Tekken games. If you go back, way back into the day, either the arcade or PlayStation, and you play Tekken 1, Kazuya is the hero. He's the main character. He's the Ryu of Street Fighter. I mean, not Street Fighter, of Tekken. He's like, what Ryu is to Street Fighter, Kazuya is to Tekken, pretty much. That changed later on as you got to Tekken 3, which they started introducing a Jin Kazama, who is like pretty much his son. And then that changed, and it got a whole muddy like craziness with the story between Kazuya, Heihachi, and Jin, and obviously Jun Kazama. Like, it got weird. But that's the main reason why Kazuya is the main character, or at least the character that we got here in Smash representing Tekken, kind of like what Terry was representing Fatal Fury.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because Jin's the other name I hear mentioned a lot, and obviously Heihachi, like an icon. So I was just, which of those 3 made the most sense? But I was actually very ignorant to the fact that Kazuya was like the hero of the original one. So like that makes so much sense to me. And obviously, in Sakurai Presents, gave all the like Sakurai just does these great deep dives on these series and like justifying. It's so hard to be like, if you're ever upset about a pick, it's like watch that 40-minute presentation. It's like hard to walk away. Yeah,
he comes with a fact sheet. Like, you could tell Sakurai is a huge fighting game fan because not only is he doing breakdowns of like what the characters are, he's breaking down a lot of specific mechanics that he's pulling from those games and putting them into Smash in clever ways. And that's really up there. Like, Smash people, y'all gotta really appreciate that because there's a lot of stuff in there.
Man, the one time, I forget which Sakurai Presents it was, but he didn't want to he said I have to stop being so technical about like fighting
that might have been Terry. That might have been Terry.
Because he had to back off and say like, yeah, this isn't what this game is about. I don't want to give people the wrong idea, even though I'm a fan. He said he's kind of a fan of like high tier fighting game, like, play styles like and mechanics. I'm like, dude, this is like, this guy
really loves
like
KOF and Fatal Fury. Yeah.
His history is amazing. Going back to like, you should read some of the background stuff on his early days about his philosophy and research into picking a base roster, how difficult he thought it was, and how a lot of fighting games were like not reaching their maximum potential because they weren't, picking the best roster they could, which is kind of like one of the impetus points redundant, but impetus for why they went with Smash Brothers and picking Nintendo characters because they thought that would be a great solution.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that like you could see that in a lot of classic fighting games that have iconic rosters. You look at Street Fighter, the real big thing about Street Fighter, especially the World Warrior, which is the original 8 to 12 fighters like that, a lot of those are archetypes representing the different countries in positive ways, from different things. So, like, a lot of them are stereotypes from one reason or another, but they become iconic because they're so simple and straightforward, and it keeps everything straightforward with the fighting, and they just like so stand out to you. You could even say the same thing about Tekken. Technically, there's a lot of different characters in Tekken outside of Kazuya that have like big standout things that just, again, they're simple, they're like straightforward, but like it keeps the focus on the fighting. That kind of just like sticks with you. I mean, in Tekken, besides Kazuya, you got Heihachi with his weird hair, you got Kuma and Panda, which are bears. You got Yoshimitsu with his like cyber sword and crazy moves and stuff. Like, it just, again, Sakurai knows what he's talking about. Like, he really knows what's up.
He definitely knows what's up. You're right. And it also translates into the meticulous, painstaking detail and the effort they put into translating that character to Smash. And that's what I wanted to go with this next, is asking you about how do you, your impressions on Kazuya, their implementation, how do you like how they play, versus like, do you think they captured enough of their essence, obviously, from their Tekken heritage there?
Like there's a lot. Like Kazuya is arguably more technical as far as like complicated in the amount of options and tools that he has compared to the other fighters out there. I think, in all honesty, I think he's more complicated than Terry because he's got a ridiculous amount of moves. Like there's a lot of moves in Tekken, and just most like we'll use Tekken 7 as just like the base example because I think that's the most recent rendition that they really pulled from, not just with looks but just like overall feel. There's just so many moves that like you could pull from there, and it's really hard to implement that into the way that Smash Brothers is structured because Smash Brothers is a simple fighter in essence compared to a lot of these other fighters, especially compared to Tekken. The other crazy thing is that a lot of the moves choices that he used for certain stuff with Kazuya's move list, it actually makes sense not only staying true to the character with a lot of the stuff that you would emphasize while you're playing Kazuya in a game like Tekken 3 or Tekken 7, etc., but also a lot of the complex button presses you would get in the Tekken game, they've translated pretty well into the Smash control scheme, with a few exceptions here and there. There's a couple things that I think could be adjusted, and I think that will get patched and updated down the line eventually whenever they get a new update because of a couple reasons. So I guess like the biggest one I could say is the 10-hit combo. Everybody saw the 10-hit combo. That's a big thing in Tekken. It's very complicated to do in any Tekken game. You know, that you require some skill to do it. They actually have it now in Smash Brothers where you could either repeatedly press A or you could hold down the A button in order to do it, and you could get the full string. Here's the problem with this, though. At the same time, if you do 2 button presses on the A button and then you delay your 3rd button press, you get that 3-hit combo, which is the pow, pow, pow with the punches that Kazuya has. The problem is, though, when you're in a fight and you're actually rapidly pressing buttons, like so fast and stuff, and you want to do that 3-button combo, you'll instead get the 10-hit combo. And that leaves you in a position where not only people could DI out of it, but also like you'll have a different option that you didn't want, and it'll cost you that momentum, at least in that moment, the neutral game. And that's something I feel like is going to get changed because I think that what they should do, personally for me, again, this is just personally for me, I wish that with the rapid button presses, just give you the 3-hit combo, just like that, plain simple. And if you hold the button instead, give you the full 10-hit string. I feel like that'll make more sense. It'll allow you to do less mistakes. It'll actually give you the ability to choose which one you want to do at any given moment.
All right. Yeah, that sounds like a good solution, actually. Also represent, that bringing up some of the pitfalls of bringing in a more mechanically heavy fighter into Smash Brothers, which is a game that, doesn't really. I mean, obviously we've had additional characters now that clearly have those types of like directional inputs and stuff like that. It doesn't go full that way, but as it sounds like, Kazuya's the one that's gone like the furthest, even more than maybe like Terry even.
A lot more. Honestly, like the biggest thing is also there's a lot of directional tilts like for different inputs that give you a lot of different moves. Also, keep in mind, even Sakurai went into a lot of detail with this in his breakdown of it. The different kind of like Dragon Punch or like the Shoryuken inputs like that, those are actually called, I believe they're called neutral inputs, or I forgot the exact term for it in Tekken, but it's a special thing where normally you would do your forward, down, or down. I think it's your forward, down, and then you try to go to like that down directional input, but there's a space in between there that it's called a neutral, like little space there, where it allows him to do that little dash forward thing that you see him do so much before he goes to that uppercut. That's like part of his entire game plan with Tekken, or at least in a lot of games. But they did it where you just have to do the regular directional input for the Dragon Punch, like that. However, here's the problem. There's multiple moves sometimes that get tied to that, whether it's depending on if you tap the button, if you hold the button down, if you do it a certain way, you get all these different moves and all these different options. The problem is when you're doing all this in the middle of a fight, especially in a multi-man melee, you're going to end up getting moves that you might not want in a given moment, which is the same thing I was just saying with the 10-hit combo. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, this is also on top of all the directional tilts. If he's actually ducking, if he's in the air, if he's standing in neutral, if he's just tilting forward, like there's a lot of stuff here. And you have to be really, really careful and cautious almost when you're playing Kazuya, because otherwise you'll leave yourself open. And Kazuya, if I will say one downside to playing Kazuya is that you're very vulnerable to getting beat out by a lot of multi-hit attacks that are very quick by a lot of characters, like specifically quick characters like Pikachu, like Lucario, and a few others. But also, because you have so many moves and options available to you, you'll do one thing and it might not work, but you won't have enough speed to recover in time before you get bodied.
Dang. Almost feels like, I'm kind of curious, do you feel like the GameCube controller, I don't know if you played with the GameCube controller.
Yeah, I did.
I'm assuming. Do you think that's like the best controller to play Kazuya then? Or do you think like maybe a traditional pad or a fight stick would, like a fighting game pad would be better?
Honestly, to be totally honest with you, I think that the GameCube controller is fine because I use different control methods. I use a third-party Pro controller, I use the GameCube controller, and I also use the Joy-Cons just to see like how it felt. It's playing on regular portable mode and stuff. And I really honestly don't think that it really matters no matter what you do because you're going to run into the same problems and stuff. Obviously, I think that most people would agree playing on a GameCube controller is really ideal for Smash Brothers more than anything else. But as far as the different types of moves and like just how easy it is to control Kazuya while you're in the middle of a matchup, I really don't think it plays much of a difference. I think that it really comes down to your own personal skills and your way to read what's going on in the matchup, especially multi-man melees, but also in your own execution.
Okay, that makes sense. How about the overall presentation of Kazuya, like the stage, the music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the music is dope. They pulled a lot of great tracks from Tekken throughout the entire series. Dude, they were even going to the Tekken Online free game that they had on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. I didn't think that they would go into stuff like that because again, they pull most music from the entirety of the series whenever they implement these characters. But it's still surprising to see just how deep cut they could get with this. They not only did Tekken 5 music, they went to Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, they went to Tekken 6, Tekken 6 Faded, I think it's Faded, I forgot the subtitle of it, but it's the extra version of Tekken 6. What is it? Tekken 7, then they did Tekken 7 Faded Retribution. It's insane. Just the different tracks that they pulled. 39 tracks, some of the best music that's out there in Tekken, some real iconic tracks from some of those games. There's a few that I wish I would have made it, but again, when you're dealing with so much good music, you got to do cuts somewhere here and there, but there's a lot to choose from. Not as much as Castlevania. I think Castlevania right now has the most tracks in the game, if I'm not mistaken. But it's pretty up there for Tekken. As far as the presentation of the stage, I think the stage is good. The stage is small, especially on the sides. I think it's definitely suited well for Kazuya in the way that he fights because he has a lot of knockback moves that knock you far into the distance. Even at lower percentages, they really push you back far. So having him in a smaller stage, especially on the sides, is going to work to his advantage. I like the breaking down of the actual Mishima Dojo. When you're actually launching characters in there, the whole place just falls apart and then puts itself back together. But when it falls apart, there's a funny charm to it. It's oh my god, he just got destroyed, sent through the roof or sent through the wall or something. Stuff like that is fun. I will say though, one thing I am a little bit disappointed in with the stage is the guest character stuff because obviously we see Heihachi there. Okay, remember in the KOF stage we see multiple characters that actually change from the KOF series that pop up from Fatal Fury, from Mark of the Wolves, etc. I wish that was done for Tekken. Because here you can have Heihachi showing up in the Mishima Dojo, obviously, because it's the Mishima Dojo. What about Jin or Devil Jin? That would be actually really cool to see stuff like that. What about Raven, the ninja that's pretty much hunting Heihachi Mishima or just hunting Kazuya at some point? There's options and stuff that they could do there.
Okay.
It would have been really cool because it would have put it on par and put a little bit of a different flavor from what we saw with the KOF stage. But,
all right. Yeah, I highly doubt they'd go back and redo that. The balance patches sound more likely what you're talking about earlier with the let me ask you this the real quick for the subtitle. Was it Bloodline Rebellion? I was trying to look at
Bloodline Rebellion.
Okay,
there you go.
Thank you.
No, actually,
I don't know enough
because there's a couple that have subtitles, but also keep in mind there's also a CG movie that ties into one of the games.
A year later, the game received Tekken 6 received an update subtitled Bloodline Rebellion.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
both versions saw limited release in North America. Sorry,
exactly.
I found it on Wiki, but as I said, I'm not the biggest Tekken person.
You're totally right because Tekken 7 after that, because I got confused before. Tekken 7 Faded Retribution was the other version of Tekken 7 that was originally the arcade version only, and then they brought it to consoles like that. So a lot of subtitles all over the place.
I will say, even as someone who's not into Tekken and stuff, and this wasn't the one that, this didn't particularly excite me. I very much appreciated that, the pick. I do think as a Smash, whatever side of the fence you come on, it still has fighting game history, even if you don't think it's technically a fighting game. And I very much like them trying to represent as much fighting game history in there, especially Tekken. So, was blown away by that presentation. Same with Minecraft. I'm not really into Minecraft, but the level of detail they went to with Steve and replicating that world in there. I cannot do anything but tip my hat to
there
that.
is detail
Hats
in
off
this
to that,
Kazuya stage. Check this out, right? So in the Mishima Dojo, Sub-Zero. There's a level of detail in there that is like super meta. That I think even Sakurai showed it, where it's the little symbol that actually has a little love symbol there. That's actually from the Tekken 7 storyline. That's Heihachi and his wife. Or his former wife, I should say. That's like super meta. Like, you obviously have to play the story to get it and stuff, but like that's a deep cut for some people. Like, a lot of developers, a lot of like publishers would not care about a detail like that, but he put something like that in the game. So I gotta respect the level and attention to detail with this stuff.
Well, it sounds like it was just like the other ones, a very impressive effort from Sakurai and the team over there. It does lead to, we have one final thing. We have one last guest fighter showing up.
Yeah.
Sakurai
this year.
It's due out by this year. Sakurai reiterated it will come out this year. It will be out by the end of the year, but also gave us a heads up. It's not being revealed for a while. So my gut thinks Game Awards again, because there's a history with the Game Awards. So December, we'll probably get it with the end of December release. But two things. We're at the end. The most obvious thing, dude. What do you think the final fighter is going to be? Like, what do you think it's going to be, and what would you want to be? This is the last time. This is the last time we're doing this.
This is the very last one. I think Sakurai is done. Like, he's like, you know what, guys, I'm done after this. I'm pretty sure somebody else, like, they're going to continue Smash Brothers more than likely, but it'll probably be taken up by somebody else, or at least they'll continue onward maybe without him. But as far as the characters are concerned, it could be anybody right now at this point. I'll be honest, who I want Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Because that, with this game, because it has such a reverence for fighting games specifically, and especially fighting games that have a legacy with Nintendo properties, there's one franchise that hasn't gone shine yet, and that's Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat has a huge legacy with the Super Nintendo, and even now, more recently, remember, they got Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch. So it's possible. Well, I mean, if you want to throw that away and say, like, okay, we already got enough fighting games, like, representation in this game already, I really believe that we're going to get something really unexpected. I mean, there's people that's been talking about Crash Bandicoot, which would make sense, because remember, we got Crash Bandicoot 4 on the Switch not too long ago. There's also the possibility about maybe getting another Final Fantasy VII character with Tifa, which I think could make sense, because keep in mind, even though I think there's already way too much Square Enix representation in this game, this is why I can't agree with people that say that Sora's going to be the last character revealed. It's because, I mean, there's all the logistics with that in one way, but like just the fact you already got 3 Square Enix characters already, like, it seems like that's already pushing the envelope in some way behind the scenes. But even then, there's all these other things that seem like it'd be a little bit more easier for them to actually get into there. Between Crash, between Rayman, especially with Ubisoft. Because look, they just got another game that's coming soon with Ubisoft and their partnership with that. Like, there's a lot of different avenues they could go with this. But regardless, whoever it is, that presentation they do, that Nintendo Direct or whatever Sakurai presents, is going to be the most watched one out of them all. Hands down.
That's a good point, actually.
For real.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Scorpion Sub-Zero. Even if it's just like Sub-Zero, if they just want someone who like they can translate into the least violent, because of that game's history.
I feel like Scorpion is the bigger, more popular character, but I could totally see Sub-Zero being a thing.
I could see maybe if they had to rework Scorpion's spear to like not pierce people, it might upset some longtime fans. Like, what'd you do to him? Whereas Sub-Zero's like, oh, he's just like freezing everyone is normal, like nothing changed here or whatever, just no.
You know what the argument against that is, though? The argument against that is that there's certain characters like Corrin that actually stab characters and hold them in place.
So that's a good point.
If you think about it.
That's true. They could make it Nintendo friendly still. Right? I think they can make it work. But also your counterpoint about like there are a lot of fighting game characters already represented in there, and there's just so many. I mean, we did get pretty much deconfirmations on, as you said, Lloyd, because he's a Mii costume.
Yeah.
Dragonborn,
Dante.
Dante, I think was the biggest one that stung.
I felt that one. That
Dante
one hurt.
Stung. Shantae was. I never expected Shantae to be an addition. Just nice to see them represented as a Mii costume's kind of nice. But I mean, as you said, Crash is another one people have been talking about. For crazy stuff, I don't think Sora has a chance whatsoever. As you said, logistical stuff is just going to make that not a reality. The biggest one I can think of that's left is like Master Chief. If they want to go another Xbox character.
You want to know why I don't think that'll happen? Because I think that,
again,
it makes more sense because Banjo-Kazooie has a legacy with Nintendo. You know, because it's rare. That's your Xbox character. Like, that's I never thought that in a million years that maybe even people would bring that up, because it just seems like such an out there thing. I mean, granted, we never thought that Cloud was going to show up in Smash Brothers, being a PlayStation character, quote unquote, into something like this. But I feel like that's like something that's just like so random and out there. I mean, there's other characters that if you really think about it could have more of a chance than something like that. And again, we have no idea. We'll end up probably getting a huge surprise by the time this thing comes out.
I honestly, the two, for my real answer, it's one of two things. I think we're either getting another first-party character, and it'll either be another Pokemon, just because we have Arceus coming out in early next year, also Diamond Pearl remakes coming out.
True.
I think it would be
that would suck. I'm not gonna lie.
I would be personally disappointed with that, but like it's something they know will get a lot of attention. The only other first party thing I'd like to see, but I think it's doubtful just because of the timing. I would love to get another Zelda character, but something from like Breath of the Wild, either a champion or maybe something from Breath of the Wild sequel. The reason I highly doubt that because the sequel, they haven't even revealed a title for that. There's no way they're putting they can't put a character in it. How's Sakurai gonna do a 40-minute deep dive on that character when they don't even have a title
spoiler,
for it?
guys.
Yeah, it's like it's all redacted and stuff. Wow. And the champions, I think, is like who you're gonna pick, and there's no way they're gonna do all four of them as one character. So Pokemon's probably the most likely of the bunch if it's first party. If it's third party, the one I think they should do. It might not be everyone's, and I've had people tell me this. Ryu Hiyabasa from.
Oh yeah, you know something? It's funny you bring that up.
Yeah, from Ninja Gaiden, from Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja.
It's funny you bring that up. Funny that you bring that up because there's another character that I could also think that could have a shot. That also, again, has a huge legacy from Nintendo. That's also a fighting game character, Fulgore from Killer Instinct. Because, dude, I'll tell you right now, these are games, and also Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden also has a legacy with Nintendo because of the NES games. Like, and also keep in mind, Razor's Edge from Ninja Gaiden 3. Like, these are characters that I feel like, okay, this makes sense to me where Sakurai could go to Nintendo or go to the right people that he needs to go to and be like, hey, can we do this? Or can we at least look into doing this? How feasible would that be? Like, those are characters that make sense to me. And again, like, if we take away the whole fighting game aspect of it and we just forget, like, okay, we got enough fighting game characters, Ryu Hayabusa sounds like it would make a whole lot of sense to me.
It's just because there's no Koei Tecmo representation yet, and they have such a close working relationship, especially with the Warriors series, the Musou series. It's like, man, Sakurai seems like the type who would like want, like, I feel like if it doesn't happen, it was something Sakurai probably fought for, but got shut down maybe by higher ups. So
maybe,
yeah.
I mean, it's something also that if that did happen, it would be a really cool reveal because keep in mind you get those Ninja Gaiden like cutscenes from like the NES that'll be almost similar to what they did with Terry. Like that, but also like imagine if instead of the more recent interpretation of Ryu Hayabusa, you go with that old school Ryu Hayabusa, kind of like what they did with Simon and Richter from Castlevania. Like again, it seems like there's a lot of potential for stuff like that.
I think either like Ryu being that would be pretty hype. Like I know some people might be down on that, but I think. Don't sleep on it. I think it would be a really big deal. And then, you just bring up Fulgore. Like, I never ever thought about a Killer Instinct character, and it makes so much sense.
I can hear Maximilian right now just be like, "Oh my god!" Like just that Killer reveal.
Instinct, I love KI1. It's like one of my favorite fighting games.
Again, because KI, keep in mind for anybody that doesn't know, KI was originally developed for the Nintendo 64. Like that, and it was going to be a big deal, and obviously the stuff with the arcades, but that's another franchise again with, even though it's made by Xbox, that could also be a cool addition to it if you want that other Xbox character besides someone like Master Chief that has no connection to Nintendo whatsoever, which would be dope. I'll tell you right now, I could hear Max like during that reveal trailer, if they like show it like he'd be like, oh my god, we're getting Killer Instinct, like it just writes itself. It'd just be insane.
But yeah. I think, Game Awards is probably the most likely time. And one last hurrah. And Sakurai, you have definitely earned your long-deserved vacation break, whatever you want to do after this. Let the man do what he wants.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't want to come back to Smash. Don't let him, let him do what he wants.
Oh, my God. But you know something? This also brings up another thing. Like, if we end up, and we probably will get another Smash game after this, I mean, where do you go from here? Because like this bar is like set so high at this point, it's ridiculous.
It's come up a few times in the past. Obviously, even by Sakurai's own admission, you're never getting a roster like this again. So you got to keep I think they have to go smaller, tighter for initial release. I think they need to maybe just go crazy and come up with a new concept for Smash Brothers. Get as you said, a new director in there, a new direction for the series, and start over like a soft reboot and try something crazy, try something different, see if it works. Because if Sakurai's not coming back, man, like don't try. Like you can't surpass this. Like that's not. And even just bring everything back, people I think will be burnt out if it's more of the same. Like you should have geared everyone up for like this being like like Smash is a platform, which is the argument
Yeah,
some people
exactly.
made, but they're not doing that now, which people think it's crazy. But if you're not going that route, I think you need to start over. I think you need to start with something fresh.
Yeah, because you can't reuse a lot of these characters again. Like straight up, I'm pretty sure like some of these are one and done, and then it's a wrap. So you either have to change up your entire roster like that, or do like what you said, go smaller, tighter, go more kind of like maybe the Smash Melee route, because that had a lot of characters, but it still had like a good roundabout way like of different types of characters that still felt plentiful, even though it wasn't as big as this one.
Yeah. Well. We will see. The time's ticking. We only got so much time left in the year. We are entering July now, and gives them only 6 more months. And what a ride it has been with Smash Brothers. But
Oh yeah.
I want to thank you for joining me, Jakejames, to talk about some Tekken history and some Kazuya and Smash impressions.
Of course.
Before we take a break here and switch gears, want to let our audience know where they could follow you, catch more of your stuff if they're interested.
Yeah, sure. Again, I do a lot of different stuff. I have my YouTube channel, youtube.com/GamersWithGains channel. I upload new videos every single week, highly edited, highly produced video reviews, Let's Plays, unboxings. Today, I even just put up my unboxing of the Kingdom Hearts Ultimania book that just came out yesterday. You guys could check that out. I'm live on Twitch every once in a while, twitch.tv/GamersWithGains. And also, I'm on Twitter at twitter.com/Jakejames Lugo. Just follow me on there, come say hi and see what's up, because I'm always posting about this stuff all the time.
Always a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thank you.
And we will be right back. Michael Huber will be joining us again, so stick around. Well, welcome back, Huber, for our final segment of this episode of Friend Code. We're going to be getting into a topic. So this was an article... What are you doing, Huber?
An itch.
We're gonna do we got an itch here. This is a serious problem. We gotta talk about this on Friend Code.
I think I got a bug bite.
Dude, yeah. I've got one on my leg right now, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But hey, it's the heat,
No.
summertime, and bugs are out and in force. Kill them all. I said kill them all.
I'm from Buenos Aires, and I said kill them all.
There you go.
So good.
Oh.
All right, I'm sorry.
No.
Continue.
I think I forget if you shared it with me, the link, or someone linked it, but I swear you brought it up, and I was like, you know what, this is a chance for you to talk about it. It originally was a Kotaku article talking about the difficulty in people trying to go back and play the older entries in the Metroid series, given the recent announcement of Metroid Dread and the still in development Metroid Prime 4, which still a while's away, way out. But October is when Dread's coming out, and it's being called Metroid 5. So naturally, people are like, "Where's Metroid 1 through 4? I want to go play those." And it's like, let me boot up your Switch, Huber, and I'm sure you've tried to do that, and you've run into a problem, haven't you, when you try and play all those games on your Switch, right?
They're not there, Damiani.
That's right. In fact, unless you play for the online subscription, you don't get access to any. You can't even just buy standalone any of the games. You got to be a paying member of the Nintendo Online subscription to get access to NES and SNES online catalog, which does have Super Metroid, which does have the original NES Metroid, but you are missing a bulk of the games.
Yeah.
And Huber, you think that's unacceptable, man. You were like ready to go off on this.
I am passionate about having your back catalogs accessible, And I know this is such a complicated issue. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's development costs. It costs money. It costs time to like put these on. And I'm not saying they need to be free or anything. I'm just saying give me the access to buy your old games so I can go through your history. And with Nintendo, it's a little different because I feel like they're protective of their brands more than most. Disney levels of protection, Nintendo vaulting content almost, it feels like. But it's just, add it to the list, dude. Add it to the freaking list of Nintendo. Like, it's one thing for, Insomniac has been purchased by Sony now, but like, it's one thing for a third party's backlog and back catalog to not be on a system, but the Nintendo console should have Nintendo games. Like, what the hell?
I feel
what the hell?
Yeah, the back catalog thing is becoming a problem, I think, with everyone except almost Microsoft at this point.
Dude, Microsoft leading the charge. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out,
That's
Microsoft.
one area they've been, if it's just to, like, add another
It's like not even
points.
fair.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not even fair to anyone else because they're crushing the competition, like stepping on them.
Yeah, I feel so bad because like up to PS3, I loved Sony with their backwards compatible, or at least having stuff digitally, PS1, PS2 games. And
play those on Vita, dude. Resident Evil 2 on Vita, like Metal Gear Solid on Vita, just right there, $7, $8.
Just gone by the wayside with them, and it's like a little disappointing. And
in fact.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
That was a skate, and same thing with Switch. That's all. Like, like Nintendo, just like having a virtual console service up until now, and then ditching it, and it's like, here are these catalogs, but like you're missing so much. What's going on?
Yeah, especially because Virtual Console was so good about it. That's why I'm more upset right now than I would normally be, Damiani, because it feels like, oh, you charged me $400 to upgrade, or $400 to upgrade to the new Nintendo console, replacing the old one, and it has less options, less games? Like, what? Let me play those Virtual Console games. Even today, Damiani, a separate issue, Sony, right, just had Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart.
Yeah.
And that whole franchise is basically held hostage on, it's in PS3 jail. If you count the remaster and A Crack in Time and so on and so forth. And someone in Twitch chat said, hey, Huber, I just played Rift Apart. Like, I'm getting into the series. I just played the 2016 version, and now I'm playing Going Commando. I was like, oh, like, did you get it on PS3, or how are you doing that? They said, no, emulating. Forcing consumers to go outside of the law to emulate your game to be able to play it, because it's not just there for purchase. And I know it's a complicated issue. I know there's licensing and development costs and a whole, and old games on new systems and compatibility and all that. I know. But the option would be nice. And of course, reining this back onto Nintendo, the fact that Virtual Console was so good about it, was excellent about it, I would say, and now that's just in the past. So that's unacceptable.
I was specifically related to Metroid. I was like curious, like, man, it felt like forever we had access to playing all these games so easily. So I got my 3DS here. And I know one of these games was not available to everyone. If you were an early adopter of 3DS, you were part of an ambassador program where you got some free games. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so on my 3DS, I have access to Metroid, Metroid 2, and Metroid Fusion on here.
Nice.
And I was like, Metroid 2 is interesting because this is the only place you can play Metroid 2 for the Virtual Console, because it actually wasn't on Wii U. Wii U didn't have a Game Boy. They had Game Boy Advance, but not Game Boy games on there. At least Metroid 2 wasn't released on there. Sorry. But here's the thing. I forgot to check if Zero Mission was on here, but the thing is, they're available. This game, Fusion and Zero Mission, are available on the Wii U Virtual Console for the GBA selection.
Wii U, make me get
as is Metroid, as is Super Metroid. Also, you could have got the Prime Trilogy, digitally or the physical version of it, which plays on Wii U either through disc or digital, and then a copy of Metroid Other M for Wii will run on Wii U. So a good portion of the mainline games were playable if you had a Wii U, and if you switch it to 3DS, it's like 3DS and Wii U were the Nintendo family for last gen. If you had these, you should be having access to every version of a Metroid game except the spin-offs. It's like that feels acceptable. Now that Switch is the only one, it's a little
that feels
weird.
Above and beyond even.
Yeah. The only ones we don't have are like the Pinball Hunters and Federation Force. And then,
Yeah.
and sorry, Samus Returns did come out on 3DS as a brand new game as well. So it's like, it feels,
They're all there.
it feels so bad to not have some of these games. Like, I understand.
Damiani, it pisses me off. Dude, honestly, I'm pissed. The more I'm talking about it, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
You know, Nintendo, so many humans out there grew up with that. Grew up with Nintendo games, and it's like, just let me access them, dude. Let me access my nostalgia. Let me access my youth, my history, my memories. Let me relive some of these games that I used to sit on the living room floor and play with my brother. Like, I'm not asking for you to give them to me. I'm asking that you let me buy them. And again, just to really drive home that point, like you're saying, Wii U and 3DS, just having so much access to now nothing. It's almost like they're just going Disney style and they're just so protective and they're just going to re-release for exorbitant prices. I mean, we had the Super NES Mini and the NES Mini, and that felt like it was, you know, the fever for that was 10 times higher than it should have been because of no virtual console, you know? Like, if there were other ways to access those games, those things wouldn't have been such a big deal. And they even treated it as some Disney crap where it was like, yo, limited thing, all right, it's gone forever, sorry. It's just like, what the hell, dude?
I mean, playing on the real controller stuff, but I mean, even that they've released, those things work on other, you know, they can work on other Switch or whatever. They're like compatible. I was gonna say sorry, I lost my thought for a second, but I just regained it. The thing is, Switch allows you to play almost anything, and if you buy it on their shop. There's Castlevania Collection, which has Game Boy Castlevania game on there in that Legacy Collection. So it's clear that the Switch can run that stuff, you know, even if it's emulated. So it's like, why not this is the perfect, if there's ever something that needed it, this is the one that needs like a Metroid Collection, I mean, Metroid Anniversary Edition for the 35th anniversary of Metroid. Put it out there, as you know, Metroid, especially Metroid 2's Return of Samus, the Game Boy one. Nintendo not including the OG versions in their remakes, remasters, is the most perplexing thing. It seems like it's a jolly bonus that I feel like some other company,
bonus.
I don't know if other companies have done this, but it feels like every company should do this. So like Link's Awakening in 2019 absolutely should have had the original Link's Awakening included as a bonus when you beat the game or something. They didn't do that. Samus Returns 2017 should have been in there to like compare. Didn't include the original version. It's like, why? Metal Gear's the one that did that. Metal Gear HD Collection did this by including like the older games as a bonus, but man, and there's some games like Halo let you toggle between the old and new graphics. Like, I mean, that would have been something else to do something like in Link's Awakening, do something like that.
Even Alex Kidd just came out. Alex Kidd has that.
I just think, Nintendo they get let off the hook a little too much when it comes to this, when it comes to their re-releasing of games, to their vaulting of games, which has been going on for a while. And Metroid in particular, they've not treated very well over the years. And even like the Metroid Prime Trilogy, it's like even if the HD version doesn't exist, it was always a rumor. Man, just like porting it. Let's do a basic port job. Like force people to have to use motion controls. Like fine, don't port it to be anything other than that. Like I think people would still even accept that. Like fine, totally. I will buy a normal Switch with Joy-Cons to play that collection again on Switch. Totally. Or I have the normal Switch with Joy-Cons. I'm totally fine playing because Metroid Prime 3. But they don't even offer that. It's like there's no back catalog.
Letdown.
Yeah,
it's depressing.
No back catalog of Wii games, of Wii U games. Like obviously they've been upgrading those games with the Wii, especially the Wii U, but this just seems like they're probably waiting for the opportune moment, as Captain Jack Sparrow would say.
Yeah, and they're just out of touch. You know, like PS4 went through this, like not being able to play PS3 games. You know, it's a bummer, dude. People want to play their old games. They want to bring them forward. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna change. But do you think they're worried that by having access to the older ones, it'll somehow lessen the sales for a new one? That's where my head was with Ratchet and Clank. It was like, okay, maybe they didn't have a collection ready to go because they really wanted Rift Apart to be the one to sell. Life is Strange True Colors is coming out before almost a full month
before the remasters.
The remaster. So it's like, do they want to make sure the new one gets the sales and then re-release? I don't know.
Maybe in that case, that one's a little bit newer. That could potentially be it. I generally don't think so. I think Nintendo's mindset is as simple as this: if these older games are just they probably saw it from Virtual Console data. People just weren't buying them in high volumes. They sold, but like they probably saw when they were made into a tentpole event, a special limited run, those sales skyrocketed. So they saw the value of gatekeeping these types of older releases, and that's what they're doing. I think. I wouldn't be so. It's horrible. I don't like it. I would not be so pissed off by that strategy if all of my purchases from like at least the Wii U era and 3DS era carried on once they did the unified Nintendo account system, and they've been like merging those ever since, like redoing them and like changing like My Nintendo, stuff like that. If they just let your purchases carry over and still be accessible on newer systems, like that double, triple, quadruple dipping is on top of the vaulting is what really pisses me off. That's what
get ready for those Switch Pro prices.
But it's just unfortunate. You're right. I mean, I like all the big series. Yeah.
Damiani, it feels. I don't want to sound like entitled, because I feel like I'm always at risk of sounding entitled by demanding like re-releasing old games or making them accessible, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands, like, I know there's a lot behind the scenes, money, time, investment, like if you really want to play those old games, like you got to find a way, but I think just what really sticks it home with me with Nintendo specifically is the nostalgia, obviously, the legacy, and the fact that just Wii and Wii U of all systems had better support. Like, if this is your new console, like, what are you doing? This is your current console, and it just feels like it's getting left in the dust. Like, especially now that PS5 and Series X are out and like 3080 Ti's, like, oh my god. Some of these games look not good. Like, even Ben in Slack was just like, yo, this Monster Hunter Stories 2 demo, like, yo, I think this needs a Switch Pro, this game.
And I understand that there's exclusive connectivity between that and Rise for bonus content, but that game,
play that on PC.
That as well as Rise, is slated to come out on PC, and if people just get enough word of mouth that goes around there, but like this just runs horrible on Switch, it's just some people, they just opt to wait. So I mean that's also a concern. I mean, but whether or not Switch Pro hits this year, and maybe that Monster Hunter Stories will like, hey, Switch Pro is coming out in September, so if you just wait a month and a half after Monster Hunter Stories 2's release, it's gonna have a Switch Pro update patch or whatever, blah blah blah, something like that. But if it's not till next year, it's like, who knows? I mean. Yeah, trying to guess what's in the mind of Nintendo sometimes is, it's just futility, less than futility.
Yeah,
like you go insane sometimes trying to like understand what they're doing. But hey, I really do believe their approach with these classic games is just shifted to, let's make them as easily available we will make them easily available in certain windows. But it's one you're going to dance to our tune because it's going to generate a lot of buzz and sales. And it worked. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, what the best-selling title in the month it came out, or close to the top of it. I don't know how the Fire Emblem sales were for that the old one that they localized, but I bet they're higher than if they just released it at some random point and said it's out forever, by forcing it to be a limited run thing. And I bet
you're so right, dude. I fell victim to that Mario 3D All. I haven't even opened it, dude, but I bought it because I felt like I had to.
There you go.
I felt like this is my chance. I better buy this. It's legit unopened behind me, Damiani. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
But then they turn around and like something like Skyward Sword HD is like, so far as we know, is permanent. It's like it's just sometimes, but that's like a remaster. I feel like that's not like a classic release, but classic ones I feel are the most susceptible to being limited run events that are vaulted.
Yeah,
sadly, but who knows? Maybe Maybe there's a Metroid Direct coming up where they're gonna announce.
Maybe the
some
Switch
classics.
Pro will be just like, yo, new infrastructure, online, virtual console, let's go, achievements unlocked, let's do it.
It's nice to be hopeful.
Always.
I just want Zero Mission and Fusion, I think, to be available again. Just because Zero Mission is viewed as one of like potentially the best 2D entries, and Fusion is going to be pretty important to people to play for Metroid Dread if it was a game that took place right before it. So it's like, wait a second.
That's my last question, Damiani. Like, don't they want people to be invested in their own franchises? Like, I'm always confused why they don't release the older games leading up. I know I was saying sales earlier, maybe, but like, I want to play some Metroids leading up to Dread, dude. Let's go.
Honestly, I'm just gonna tell you this. I think they just the Metroid canon is not one of their priorities.
Yeah, they don't even give a shit.
Like, I think they know most people play those games for the design for Metroidvania experience, and they don't really need, like, the in-game atmosphere is what sells it, not oh, this is that character from 3 games, that's Adam or whatever. Like,
but not even the lore, Damiani. I just want to feel the Metroid vibes as it gets closer, and it's like,
they're just gonna tell you, go subscribe to SNES Online and go play Super Metroid right now. It's available on Switch.
There it is.
Or go play Metroid.
And those go away,
1.
right?
No, those are still, unless you stop paying.
But like, once they add one to that, it's there.
Yeah.
They don't like remove anything.
Metroid, not only the NES Metroid only has one entry. They have the SP1 special, which are like, it's a save state with a bunch of things unlocked near either at the beginning or near the end, so they're like easier for people to play through. So it actually got 2 editions released there, and then Super Metroid's just on there normally. I don't think they did any SP editions for the Super Nintendo stuff, but yeah, Zero Mission and Fusion kind of stings. And then obviously the Prime trilogy, just because they're like especially one's like viewed as a pinnacle, and just not having it was playable up to the Wii U, but now like that line has been cut so far, so
that feels kind of manipulative too, Damiani. Now that you mention it, just I forgot to mention the online. You know, losing access to those games as soon as you unsubscribe. It's just another way they hold you hostage with the nostalgia. If you want to play Metroid, pay us monthly. You know, be a subscriber.
Hey.
It's like, dude, let me just buy the damn game.
So I got my 3DS right here, and I can just go
Metroid
games.
Yep. Super Nintendo.
Metroid, and bam.
Bust out the cart.
Bam. It's just on there. I just own it. And look at that. I'm just like,
Isn't
there.
That nice?
Just playing some Metroid right now.
There it is. You own it.
Don't have to worry about... This thing was like closed for years. I just opened it and I was like, dude. Actually, I was like getting really nostalgic when I opened the 3DS. I was like, man, there's some like the themes and like the OS theme and stuff, like they change. And I don't know, there's something about the 3DS interface and even the DS before it, but like 3DS specifically, that I kind of miss about it.
Iconic.
Yeah, like the Street Pass stuff, I think that's still the biggest missed opportunity for the Switch, is not having a similar thing, a similar system. So I want to encourage people to take their Switches on the go more, and like especially Switch Lite should have been the perfect time to launch that service, because like I'm taking it, I'm passing by people, I'm engaging with people, it's social. It's like I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with a lot of the games that have come out on Switch, but at the same time, from functionality standpoint of the hardware, I'm a little
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
I'm a little let down by how bare bones the Switch really is. I will say the only thing that's nice is the rewind function in the emulator for NES and SNES doesn't exist on this platform. Has save states and everything, but it's like, oh, there's no rewind. That's pretty good, but other than that, it's like hard to point to something that's just like way better than that. So yeah, Nintendo. Maybe just
bad optics.
Yeah,
like Blizzard. You know, it's all just optics.
But it's fine.
Blizzard and Nintendo going down, Microsoft going up. Sony is just like battling the waves.
I mean,
but at the end of the day, like Bloodworth always says, every time I bring this up, Bloodworth goes, Nintendo though, selling like hotcakes. Why does anything need to change?
I mean, that's the point you made. I mean, several people have made that point. And again, just from an optics thing, Huber, you say all this stuff, but they're just going to go laughing all the way to the social media bank saying Breath of the Wild sequel beat out Elden Ring for hype and discussion. It's like, oh, Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild 2, we got this. Like, you should be fearful Halo Infinite. You should be fearful Horizon. You should be thanking us for not releasing this game in 2021. We're saving it for next year to kill all your other killer apps next year. It's like, you better get those games out this year because...
Yeah.
It's like forget like anything else. Clear the way for Breath of the Wild sequel. It's like unless you're Fortnite,
high expectations.
Yeah, unless you're Fortnite, man, or Minecraft or something of that caliber, get out of the way. It's like, geez.
Hey, fair or unfair at this point, anything less than a 10 out of 10 for Breath of the Wild 2 is a letdown. Sorry.
But Huber,
coming off Breath of the Wild 1, how long it's been, like the hype they give, dude.
What if they have an open world, open sky, and open ground? It's 3 different layers to an open world never done before.
Sounds like a 10 in the making to me.
It's like you can't. No one can even justify giving that less than a 10, even for bugs and stuff. Nothing was. This is like the GTA 3. Like when GTA 3 came out. Like this is such a technical achievement. How could you dock this for anything? It's so ambitious. Nothing even comes close to this. Dude,
Bad Guardian Dungeons.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode, though. Thank you, Huber, for joining me for those 2 topics we talked about. Thank you to all
Nintendo.
Oh, shit. I did have a patron question, actually. Wait. One patron question I forgot to ask you. And it's about Breath of the Wild 2, because it was the segue for this. Because I knew we'd eventually get into Breath of the Wild 2. It's really quick. It's from Raul. Do you think that loft wings or any other type of flying mount will be in Breath of the Wild 2? Love and respect. Flying mounts in Breath of the Wild. Now that we're in the sky, man.
Yes.
I think 100%.
But it's not going to be straightforward. There's gonna be something about it. Not, like how they do like weapon degradation and shit.
Mount they can only fly to certain parts till you upgrade the ship.
Yeah, or like you gotta build your bond with it, or there's gonna be maybe something. I don't know. Okay. I just don't think it's gonna be as simple as like, here's your mount, you can fly everywhere. Gotcha. I can't imagine that. But I do think there will be flying mounts.
All right.
What do you think, Tony?
I think 100%. Even before we knew about the sky, I thought the first game, one of its final rewards should have been like 100%, or getting all of something should have been a flying mount. Would have just been perfect in the first game. This game, it'll be like that's docking a point if there's no flying mount in this. That's grounds
there
for
goes
docking
the 10.
a point.
Yeah, there it goes.
Oh man,
dude! I hope there's like some sick drill thing, dude. You want to talk about going underground, dude? Imagine like jumping off a mount and like drilling into the ground or something sick.
Okay. Just get one of those Ninja Turtle things, what they're called, the drill down. There's like like Ganon's Technodrums down there.
Anytime anyone talks shit on Super Mario Galaxy 2, I think of the drill mechanic, the drill power up, and I'm just like, yo, I don't trust you. Anyone who doesn't like Galaxy 2, I don't trust you if you don't like Galaxy 2.
It's a good mechanic, a good power up. Sorry, and I like Galaxy 2 a lot. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions for us for this episode of Friend Code. If you'd like to submit a question for consideration for next episode or future episode of Friend Code, you gotta be a $5 and up patron. Make that post, call in for your questions. Be on the lookout for that. We also got some shout outs for the month of June. We are right at the last day of June 2021. Shout outs Elthanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, Edsgar Soma Spider So What, Esdakel, Nick Blue, and Jesse Blue. Shout out. Thank you so much. Huber, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Sorry, everyone, this is coming late. Had some things happen this weekend. Actually, was supposed to record with a guest. They couldn't fill in. I tried to find other guests on short notice, just didn't work out. I had a very specific topic and just wasn't working out with the timing. And then I actually got sick. Pink eye. I got pink eye. I didn't get anything catch over anything. I just got pink eye and had to get over that for like 2 days. And then like I didn't want to like shoot any earlier when my eye looked terrible. So we pretty much were forced to.
And your power was out today.
Yeah, we had a water heater go bad on us, and a whole bunch of stuff that happened last night during the group stream that freaked me the hell out the whole time. And I was like nervous, about to have a heart attack. And they they still got to replace some stuff, so it's not bad. It was all outside, so thankfully that was it. But like when they installed it, they had to turn off the power out there just so because it was still wet, and they're working in the work closet, and there's like wiring in the walls, so I was like, can't mess with that. Anyway, with our regular schedule of stuff, it was like Wednesday ended up being the first day we could shoot all this stuff. So thank you for your patience and stuff. Hopefully you're watching this Wednesday night. As soon as we finish this up, I'm gonna rush to get this out the door. If not, if it's going out Thursday morning, thank you for your patience and understanding. GG. But until next time, everybody, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.